All right, so once again, a very good afternoon to all. My name is Vincent. So I'm going to be your host for this webinar. Uh, I'll kind of quickly go through the run down the timeline for you. Right. So basically this webinar will be consisting of 3 items. So the first item is basically on the introduction of material science, and this will be done by our deputy head for education and outreach, Prof. Dan Blackwood. And then the second item that we'll do is a student sharing session, and we have invited 2 of our students to share with all of you their experience doing material science as their preferred major, right? And lastly, the third item, it will be a Ask Me Anything session. So for that session, it will be hosted by our student club, and that means we will not have any staff in the sessions. So feel free to ask anything that you want to, right? So I'll let the students handle it. All right. So I think the first item, let's
Maybe you can ask them if they have questions to put it in the Q&A part. I don't actually see it on my screen.
I don't have a Q&A here actually. It's more of a
Okay.
chat. I'll record
Okay,
down the chat.
Okay, then we just do it via the chat
Yeah.
if they've got questions.
All right.
Fine.
So if you have any question at any point of time, you can put it down in the chat. So don't worry, you can put it down in the chat. We'll try to answer it. Or once Prof. Dan is done with his presentation, then he will give you the answers. Okay, cool. So Prof. Dan.
Okay, then thanks, Vincent. Then I will share screen. Where's my share screen button? Share screen. Here we go. Okay, I will give an introduction to the department. Okay. Right, so welcome to the Department of Material Science and Engineering, where we say we should materialize your future. You might be wondering what MSE is. Okay, you're probably familiar with physics, chemistry, biology, and you're probably familiar with mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and things like that. Well, what material science and engineering is, it's a combination really of science, it's particularly physics and chemistry, with a little bit of bio put in there. But rather than being concentrated on the fundamentals, we actually work with more applied topics. So it's like applied science. That's why we work a lot on energy, batteries, fuel cells, solar cells, biomedical materials. You think about implants, drug release, there's all materials problems. There's quite a bit in robotics. How do you make a robot touch something? How does it give a sense of touch? You need materials to do that. And we also work on electronic materials, things like 2D materials, which having grown in uses in the electronics industry. So if you like science, but you want to feel that what you learned is useful to society and more applied, then material science and engineering could well be the thing for you. Okay, what we offer is a direct 4-year degree, and it's an accredited degree. We're accredited under what's known as the Washington Accord. So there's a whole load of countries. This is only part of the list, but it includes the US, the UK, and Australia, Canada, Hong Kong. So perhaps the ones that you're more likely to move on to afterwards. All of us recognize each other's degrees, okay? So your degree that you get here would be recognized in America, recognized in the UK. Every 5 years, we have to be accredited. And we last went through it in March 2021. And so we're actually accredited up to the year 24-25. Those of you who are going off to NS may not come until after 24-25, but don't worry, we will be going through it again in about 4 years' time. And I'm confident our curriculum is still good enough to keep us going through it. So what do we actually have now at MSE? We actually have a curriculum which is quite broad and flexible. The university's moved away from depth in a single major to a more broad degree. So we actually start, or you will have to do a certain number of university level modules, general education modules. These are going to be on, okay, altogether you will have 160, what we used to call MCs, now we're calling units. So they will add up to 160. 20 of those are in these university level modules, things like cultures of connection, data literacy, community engagement, Singapore studies. critique and expression. This is really learning communication skills, as is critical thinking and writing. So these two are basically learning communication skills. There's also 40 MCs of what we call unrestricted electives. That's basically you can choose to do any of them. So you could perhaps take a language, or you can do a minor, and I'll talk more about later on how you might make use of this. But this is basically, well, it's not free modules because you still have to pass the exams, but it gives you a chance to broaden your horizons. And then there's an engineering course. So these modules will be taken by all students that enter the College of Engineering and Design. Okay. So you have to do some mathematics. Okay. This mathematics is also mathematics. It's offered by the Civil Engineering Department. It's essentially statistics. Okay. So you have 4 lots of mathematics. These are all worth 2 units each. But then you go on to do design and make, design thinking. Design is sort of fundamental to engineering. You've got to learn how to design things. You'll learn a bit about programming. Now that the university or the faculty concentrates on a programming language known as Python, which was named actually after Monty Python, the comedy sketches. This isn't a deep level language, but it is the language that most engineers now use outside. So that's why we're concentrating on that particular language. Then you'll do something on systems thinking that gives you methods of actually looking at the big picture, right? Rather than look at individual parts. System thinking teach how you take a general overview. Machine learning, you'll learn a little bit about machine learning, which is, as you're probably aware, becoming more and more important. Project management, how do you manage projects? And there's a couple of more of these sort of more general modules like livable cities, right? We're in Singapore, it's quite a livable city, but you've got to learn how to live in city life. And creating narratives, which is another communication module. So that's another 40. So we're already up to what we had 60, so we're already up to 100. And then we have our core MSE modules. We call them Material Science and Engineering Principle and Practice 1 and 2 first. These basically involve a lab component. So you have both lectures, and you also get a chance to go right into the labs and do some hands-on work right at the beginning. Okay. The first one, well, basically, we're going to teach you the chemistry and physics that you need to know. Don't worry if you're not good at chemistry and physics. You can take bridging modules at the same time as you take this first module. So in your first semester, you could use some of the unrestricted elective space to take a bridging module so that your physics or chemistry can catch up. Then in the second one here, this is basically the structure of materials, how the atoms put together, and the mechanical properties, so the strength of materials. Then we have a module, what we call Principles of Renewable Energy. It's basically actually thermodynamics, but you may have done a bit of thermodynamics already, and thermodynamics is a rather dry topic. So what we're trying to do is to teach it with applications so that you know why thermodynamics are important to learn. And a lot of these renewable energies and batteries and things that you hear about on TV, they are based on thermodynamics. So you need to know about the thermodynamics before you can really understand batteries. And then we have a materials, kinetics, and processing module. So when you do thermodynamics, next thing is how the reactions go. It also turns out that the properties of materials will vary as you process them, and you'll learn about why that is. We all have another core module on electronic properties of materials. That's largely because the semiconductor industry in Singapore is still very large, and a lot of our students still go off there. Then we have quite a bit on materials characterization, both lectures here and labs down here. Materials characterization is sort of fundamental to what materials scientists do. We want to know what is a material made of, or if we want to know how do we get better properties, we first need to look at how the structure is put together, the atoms put together, and how can we move them around it and then look at it again if we improved it, or maybe it might be for failure analysis. And the last core lecture module we have is called materials selection. Basically, we have a sort of problem nowadays. In the Stone Age, you made everything out of wood or rocks, and that was about it. Or natural materials, animals, bear skins and things. But now we have hundreds of thousands of materials. So which is the best material to make your airplane out of, or your biomedical implant? We need a method after which we choose the best material, decide on the best material. So that's what you will learn in that particular module. How do we decide what is the best material? What does even best mean? Okay, even that's not easy to define. And then we will have some other labs where we up here, we have processing, we have a processing lab where you process materials differently and see how their properties change. And we also have a lab on machine learning. Okay. Again, so we're trying to introduce you more and more to machine learning. Machine learning is a tool that engineers are going to have to learn to use. It's not going to replace engineers, but it's a tool that we're going to be using. What else do you need to do? Well, you need to do an industrial attachment, okay, where you will spend 6 months in industry. Actually, there's an option if you don't want to do the industrial attachment for the 6 months in industry, you can do what we call a vacation industrial attachment, which is just 12 weeks. And then you can make it up either with a shorter 6-week industrial attachment or a UOPS, which is UOPS stands for undergraduate research opportunity. So you can work with a professor in his lab on a project for 1 semester. So those are actually options if you don't want to spend the full 6 months in industry. Although most of our students opt to spend time in industry to get to know what life is like working out in industry. We then have to do engineering professionalism. That's essentially ethics, the ethics you need to be a professional engineer. And then you will have a choice of either doing a research project over 2 semesters. That's an individual research project in a professor's lab, or you can choose to do a design project in a team basis. Okay, so you can design and make something on a team basis. And then we also have a whole range of electives. I'm not going to show all the electives we have, but we have a whole range of electives that you can have to make up your other 8 MCs, and that will bring you to 128 units. We only just changed from the term MC to unit, so I still haven't got used to the idea. So this might be a typical recommended schedule that you might have. You can see it takes 4 years, and you basically take sort of 20 MCs worth as you go through. Okay, and your industrial attachment would probably be in semester, your 6th semester, so the 2nd semester of your 3rd year. The reason we place it here is most industry like you to have learnt the materials characterization before you go to visit them. You also note that I've got several ones here in red. Okay? These ones in red, these are the ones, if you come from a polytechnic and you join us, you'll be given 38 MCs or up to 38 MCs, most do get the 38 MCs, of advanced placement credits. Okay? And the ones in the red are the ones that you will actually get. Okay, so you don't have to do the industrial attachment. Most polytechnics have already done that. You don't have to do design thinking or design and make. And the other, there's 20 MCs of unrestricted electives. You will get exactly the same advanced placement credits regardless of which department you join in the college. Okay? So if you take those out, right, you've got that 38, that's almost 2 semesters. You'll find that polytechnic students should be able to complete their degree within 3 years. So they still get the honors degree, they still get the same, it's the same degree, still accredited on the Washington Accord. But you also notice I've put in fundamental of physics here in the 1st semester. That's because most of the poly students we find tend to be a little bit weak in physics. So we recommend that they take fundamentals of physics, which is a bridging module, at the same time as they're going to take our first material science module. Likewise, if you come from the JC and you don't have H2 physics, it's a good idea to take fundamental physics here. Or if you come from the JC and you don't have H2 chemistry, you can take a bridging module in chemistry at this point here. So so you don't need to worry if you don't have H2 physics and H2 chemistry. There are bridging modules that will help you bridge the gap. Okay. And then after you've done the core, you might think about doing a specialization, right? You've got these 40 MCs of unrestricted electives. What am I going to do with them? And one of the things we encourage you to do is to do more material science and engineering. And we have a number of specializations. We have one with biomedical materials, where we join together with the Department of Biomedical Engineering. So their students can take some of our modules and our students can take some of their modules. An example of the sort of things that you might learn in that is the design of materials to release drugs at a controlled rate or in response to some external stimulus. That's right. Drug delivery, you think is a medical issue, but actually the process of controlled release, making sure that your material degrades at a nice constant rate and releases the drugs at a constant rate, materials issue. Okay? In fact, I do almost identical work on corrosion on the bottom of ships that stops barnacles attaching to the bottom of the ship, just on a much larger scale. It's a materials problem in both cases, and the technology is identical. Another one that we have is nanotechnology, things like silver antibacterial cleansers or lightweight composites made of carbon nanotubes. CNT stands for carbon nanotubes, which are basically, you might have heard of graphene. Graphene is a single sheet of carbon. Well, you can roll up that sheet and you can make it into a tube, and that tube is strong, and so we can make a composite with it. Okay, so it gives us strength. The other side of the composite is usually a polymer. We've also got a specialization in artificial intelligence. And a use that we might make of that is machine learning to develop more efficient catalysts for hydrogen production. Right? We want to produce hydrogen nowadays because we want to move away from fossil fuels, and hydrogen is a clean fuel. But you can't dig hydrogen out the ground. You have to make it. And one good source for it is from water. We can do electrolysis, split water into hydrogen and oxygen. But at the moment, that's not a very efficient process. We'd like to get more efficient catalysts. We also have one on renewable energy and sustainability. So an example is there, we want to improve batteries and solar cells. We were doing quite a lot of work in our department on lithium batteries and what's known as other types of rechargeable batteries, such as zinc air batteries and redox flow batteries. That's something I was trying to think of. Okay. And we're also going to have 2 new specializations. The faculty has already approved these. We're just waiting for the university to approve the robotics one. The microelectronics and quantum materials will actually have to go all the way up to MOE. But for us to join the robotics, we will almost certainly be joining it before you get here. The robotics is actually a faculty-wide specialization. It's material science and engineering now, and mechanical engineering, bioengineering, and electrical engineering. So to get that specialization, you would take topics from those other departments. And an example where the materials is used in there are soft actuator materials, which give robotics a sense of touch, right? You always have a sense of touch. You touch something, you know when to stop. But a robot, when it tries to pick something up, doesn't know how hard to grab. And that's a materials issue to actually get the right sensor. And the microelectronics and quantum materials, well, the sort of thing you're probably aware of now, we have these quantum dot display TVs. That comes out of quantum materials. The sort of way a specialization works, so this is one in energy and sustainability, is you need 20 units for your specialization. Typically, something already in your core curriculum will count towards it. So in this case, the fundamentals of renewable energy is already there. So then you just need 4 other modules, 4 MC modules, to give you another 16, and you will get 20. And you will select it from a basket. And it could also include your final year project over 2 semesters, although only 4 MCs count out of the project towards the specialization. Itself is worth 8, but only 4 are allowed to count towards the specialization. The university has some rather complicated double counting rules, which would take quite a while for you to get used to, that you're allowed to count a certain number of units to both specialization and to your major. So this would be how you'd fit in the biomedical specialization. Right? So the ones in the red are all the, if you do it in your project, right, the only thing you have to add in is the ones in red. So you're not doing a great deal extra, and this one would be offered by the biomedical department. So you would do sort of just 1 module from biomedical department if you want to be on the safe side and stay in the materials, or you could take more on the biomedical side, depending on how how your interests are, whether they are more towards the bio side or more towards the material side. Actually, because you've got 40 MCs, you could actually take 2 specializations, right? You could take one in biomedical and one in functional intelligent materials. Right? You can see where I've built up here. So for the functional intelligent materials, the introduction to machine learning, that counts as a core module. Okay. And then you would just take some MLE, AI technical electives to make up. So you could actually graduate with your major and 2 specializations. And then there's also double degrees. Okay, you can have there's something called the MSE and medicine program. Basically, you'd end up with a bachelor engineer's degree plus a doctor of medicine. That's with Duke NUS. But I would have to say that you need to be really one of the top students to get on this program. It is very competitive. There are also double degrees that we have with material science and engineering with economics, material science and engineering with business administration. And also, basically, you can do a double degree with any other engineering degree. So you could do you could major in material science and engineering. Also have a second degree in, say, chemical engineering or something like that. Let's see. So and then there's minors. Okay, if you were to go to the website, so these websites here, you'd see there's a whole list of double majors that you can do. So the last one was a double degree where you get 2 degrees, and this is a double major. Okay, and minors. There are literally hundreds of minors. Okay, so there's wide flexibility in your choice when you come to NUS. The sort of thing you might do. Okay, this is one where you might say take a second major in computer science. So you do MSc in computer science. This program in methodology, this was the Python language, that counts towards both programs. Okay, so you don't have to do the 40 MCs in the second major. You've still got a little bit of room left over for an unrestricted elective somewhere. So these are the red ones are the ones that you would take. So within your 4-year take from computer engineering. So in your 4 years, you can graduate with a second major in computer science. The only thing you need to be able to get onto that program is at the end of your second semester, you need to have scored at least a B+ in this module. Some students will be admitted to that as a second major when they apply at the beginning. But even if they're admitted, they still need a B+ to stay on the program. The majority of our students actually start their second major or their minor at the end of their second semester, because there's such a wide choice, they haven't really decided what they want to do. So you can join after the end of your second semester. Okay, so you can sort of stack them up. I said, why not take 2 specializations? Here we could have, so what are these? You could have a specialization and a minor. Okay, so you could do a specialization in polymeric and biomedical materials, another one we have. We can do a minor in biomedical engineering. And maybe you become a health professional in that. You perhaps do a specialization in nanostructure materials and a minor in economics, and then you could be a sustainability consultant. Or this could also be in a specialization in energy and sustainability. You could do a minor and a specialization in functional intelligent material and a minor in data engineering, and then you could be artificial intelligence and machine learning field. Or with the functional intelligent materials and a minor in entrepreneurship, you could perhaps have your own startup. And you could perhaps do 2 minors, one in data engineering and one in management technology, and then you could become a finance lawyer. Or you might want to do 2 majors. If you do it in the material science and engineering and innovation and design, you could actually have perhaps be a techpreneur in the aerospace industry or something like that. So why MSE at NUS? Right. Well, the college as a whole, so that's the whole College of Design and Engineering, we're the #1 school in engineering according to the Times Higher Education. Okay, we're 8th in the world, but we're the #1 in Asia. The department itself is #7 in what's known as the QS rankings in the world, which is very good for consider what Singapore is such a small country. But perhaps more important from your point of view is when you leave here, you'll want to get a job. As far as employer rankings are concerned, MSE and NUS is #1 in Singapore and #1 in Asia for that, right? As far as reputation with employers. So the employers think our students are the best in Asia. So that's very good when it comes to for getting employment. And you also perhaps will get the chance to work with some of the top researchers in the country and in the world, actually. Every year there is something called the highly cited researchers. There's essentially 6,600 of these in the world, of which 32 is at NUS, which is a very good showing. I mean, that's 5%. When you think of how many universities there are in the world, to have 5% of the top researchers in the University of NUS is very good. And 5 of those, so that's 15% of those at NUS, are in the Department of Materials Science. Okay, so we almost have 1% of the world's top researchers in our own department. If you think how many universities there are in the world, there's more than, I mean, there's 1,000 universities probably, right? But we have 1% of the top researchers in the world in our department. And they include Kosnia Novovalatov. Unfortunately, I do have difficulty pronouncing his name. He's won the Nobel Prize for his work on graphene in 2010. And since he's come here, the government of Singapore has been very interested in his work. And there's now the world's first institute dedicated to functional intelligent materials, which he will leave. And this is a $200 million investment. So the government of Singapore obviously thinks materials is the future if they're willing to put $200 million on the table to support future growth in this area. Another reason to come to NUS is the student exchange program. Okay, you can spend a semester or maybe even 2 semesters overseas. Okay, we've got more than 300 partner universities in 40 countries around the world. They include the University of California, Imperial College, Georgia Institute of Technology, University of Tokyo, or Tsinghua University. And we're also the only engineering school in the world to have exchanges with both Cambridge and Oxford universities in the UK. Both Cambridge and Oxford, though, you would spend a full year in the UK. So if you get the opportunity, I would recommend that you do those. A little bit more why MSE at NUS. Okay, NUS is a comprehensive university. Okay? We're the only real comprehensive university in Singapore. That gives you a chance to develop a wide social network. When you're here, if you stay in the colleges on campus, maybe you'll make friends with future lawyers, sociologists, business areas, economics. And when you graduate from here, you'll probably stay in Singapore, and that network will stay in Singapore. And so having a good network, a wide network of diverse people will be very valuable to your future careers. That network is probably more important in the content of the modules that we teach you. Okay, so I think coming to a comprehensive university is a very, very strong point for choosing NUS over any of the other local universities. And make the most of it, okay? Don't study all the time. Make the most of this network and opportunity. It's very important for your future life. We also have a small cohort size. So we have a good teacher to student ratio. All the students will be assigned an academic mentor. This is someone you can talk to if you struggle with your courses, but also if you have other problems in life. They're a friend to listen to. Sometimes it helps just to talk over your problems with someone who's willing to listen. We've got a flexible curriculum, you've seen. It's strong in science, but with real life applications. And all industries need material science. Okay? I can show some of the industries that we've got, right? We've got the materials and technology industries, right? Things like Bosch, Lloyd's Registrar, life science industries, Philips, Bayer, transport, aerospace. This is a growing area. Rolls-Royce has a factory up in near Woodland somewhere now. Petrochemicals, energy. This is the research industry, and even banking. Our students learn analytical thinking skills, and the business world and banking world like that. They actually find that the thinking skills that our students learn are actually useful for their industry as well. And so you can see material science and engineering gives you a very diverse choice. So it's not like your degree will be hot this year and maybe cold next year. You probably know that data analytics was very popular last year, but now lots of people in these companies like Shopee are being made unemployed. We do have students who've gone to work in Shopee as well, but they're being retrenched, right? Whereas if you have a material science background, if the industry you're in is going down, you can jump to another industry. You're always going to be in demand. That's also why we're doing a more and more flexible curriculum, because you need flexibility in the uncertain times. Okay, a little bit on our employment rate. I said we were popular in Asia, the #1 amongst employers, and 93% of our students have got positions within the first 6 months. And this tells you what their salaries are. Actually, the salaries have gone up last year. Okay? It was good to see that the mean and medium salaries of our students went up by $500, right? So that's a 12% rise, or 15%, depending on you're looking at mean or the medium. I know there was a lot of inflation last year, but it wasn't actually as high as that. So the salaries are increasing better with inflation. I still hope that engineers get more salary in Singapore. I think we're still undervalued, but it is moving in the right direction. These are a couple of QR codes that you might want to scan if you want more contact with us. We're on Discord, and you can also follow us on LinkedIn. So I'll leave these for a few seconds to give you a chance to get your handphones out. Okay, so I'll move to the next slide. On Saturday, we have the open house. Okay, so we hope that you will come and visit us. We will be in University Town Sports Hall 1, and we're actually going to be in booth 11. Okay, you'll come in through this door over here, and you can make your way down to booth 11. We also will have some displays, so we hope to see you at booth 11. And we will also have some lab tours. Okay, we'll show you around our labs, and we've got various tour times, as you can see here. And again, this is the QR code of where the lab tour is. And that's actually my last slide, so I'll leave it there. And then you can ask questions and also take this QR code so you can find out when the lab tours are and how to get on them. I encourage you to come around and see our labs. We have some quite nice equipment to show you. So let's see whether there are any questions. There was one right at the very beginning. There was a question of one for this material. Do we first join the engineering department in NUS and then specialize in year 2? Okay, I can answer that bit. For now, engineering has a single cutoff point. Okay, so you would actually apply to the department, you apply to engineering. Okay, so if you're good enough to get into any of the departments, okay, so you apply to engineering, but when you actually matriculate, so when you arrive here, you can actually, or you should declare your major, right? So you would be accepted into engineering as a whole, but when you matriculate, you declare your major. You can declare your major basically at any time. So you would specialize at year one, but actually it's possible to join us if you went off to mechanical engineering and found out you'd made a mistake and you want to join us. You can join us quite easily at year two. Okay, you wouldn't have very much to catch up on. We have a plan for students to do that. A number of students will do that. Will it focus on physics or will it focus on chemistry? Well, that's a common question actually. We have both physics. So in the first couple of years, you will do a little bit of both. But later on, you can sort of, depends where you want to specialize. If you're going to specialize in biomedical materials, then you'll probably be doing more chemistry. If you like to specialize in nanomaterials or functional materials, then probably you're going to be more physics. Okay, so it's really up to you. If you prefer physics, you would go to one side of materials. Prefer chemistry, you can go to another side of materials. Okay, I know there's some more new messages. I'll scroll down. What's the difference NUS material science and NTU material science? I think our curriculum is now more flexible. I expect NTU to change their curriculum to a more flexible one as well. The basic content, though, is somewhat similar. I think the real advantage, right, if I go back to here, this slide, this being a comprehensive university really makes a big difference. I said your network that you can get here is a lot better than it will be at NTU. We also have I think we have a better teacher to student ratio. So being a small department means that we get to know you better, whereas NTU is much larger. And so they tend to, well, whenever you're in a large group, it's not as friendly. So I would like to think that we're more friendly. But the content-wise, NTU is a good school for content-wise. So I think it's the main advantages of being in a small class and this comprehensive university. What else do we have here? Go back to the QR code I was showing. Can we take the fundamentals of physics module even if we have years of not studying because of NS? Yes. Okay. It's a long answer. You could take anything you like in your unrestricted electives, but probably you don't need it. Okay, if your physics was quite bad at H2, then you might want to refresh it, but I don't think you would probably not need it. Now, you might have heard that the university NUS has got a grade-free first year, right? You take the modules and you'll get a choice of SU, and S means satisfactory and U means unsatisfactory. So if you get a C and you're not very happy with a C, then you can convert it to an S. In fact, you can, even undergrads now can even convert a D to an S. And the reason that was actually brought in was because of some NS men that actually did quite badly in their first semester, right? They hadn't really, they've been in a position where they weren't supposed to do too much thinking, let's put it that way. And so they struggled when they came back, and the university recognized that, and that's why we've given this grade-free semester. So you don't want to worry too much about it. If you're disappointed with your first year results because you haven't got back into the swing of studying after NS, it won't be critical to your final grades. You can use this SU option. Most of our poly students, so the question is, should a poly student graduate in 3 or 4 years? The majority actually graduate within 3 years. Okay. Some take 3.5. It really, it's your own pace. There's no pressure on you to graduate within 3 years, but the majority will finish in 3 years. Some do decide to take a little longer at their own pace. I think I'm at the bottom. So are there any final chance to ask questions? If not, I will stop sharing the screen. And then I think we promised that we would leave, didn't we?
So Prof, then I think there's one more question. So will specialization be printed on the certificate?
I think the answer is yes at the moment. This keeps coming up, and sometimes they say yes, sometimes they go back to no. At the moment, I think it's yes, but I don't know what it will be by the time you graduate. It's basically on student feedback. Sometimes the students want it on there, and sometimes students feel they don't want it. So I think at the moment it is on there. Yeah. There was a time when we were handing out a separate specialization certificate, but I think now we've gone to it's going to be on the degree scroll. I overran again, right?
It's okay. All right. So last chance for questions. If no questions, then I think let's thank Prof Dan for his talk. All right. So we will move on to the next item. The next item is the student sharing session. I think as for now, we'll just stay here. But Prof Dan, you
Okay, I will leave actually
yeah,
because I'm marking midterm tests at the
right,
moment.
right.
Okay, bye then.
Okay, thanks. Right. So right, we're moving on to the second item. So first up, we'll ask Richa to share her experience with all of you. Richa is our fourth year student, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, Richa, please take it away.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah, great.
Okay. And you can see my slides?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, hi. Thanks for having me here today. So I'm just gonna talk about my experience at MSE because I'm in my fourth year now. So yeah, and if you have any questions later on, you can feel free to ask. Hopefully this is helpful. So I feel like my experience in NUS and MSE both is defined by more than what I've just learned in the classroom. There's a lot more to it. So that's kind of what I'll be sharing about. So firstly, of course, I'll talk about my experience with MSE, but also I'm enrolled in a second major, the Innovation and Design program. So I'll talk a bit about that. I'll talk a bit about my internship at A-Star, a CCA I've been in for 2 years now, which is Engineering Good Student Chapter. I spent 2.5 years staying at a residential college in Newtown called College of Alice and Peter Tan. So I'll talk a bit about that. And then, of course, my semester on exchange at the University of Sheffield. Yeah. So firstly, of course, I feel like a lot of you might be confused about choosing your major, and this is the time where you'd be deciding which course is right for you. So I was in a similar position when I had to choose, and the reason I chose MSc is because I enjoyed both physics and chemistry, but I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go and do research fully in one of them. I wanted something with more real-world applications, and I had heard that engineering gives you the skills to apply to other industries as well beyond just pure research. So that's why I chose it. And I really feel like I made the right decision with MSc because I've grown to really love the course, and I feel like it's the perfect fit for me. So if you're in a similar situation, I would really recommend it. I like that there's a lot of hands-on lab work. So these are some pictures from some of the labs we've done over the years on different topics. So the left is using the scanning electron microscope. I think we had freedom that day to pick what we wanted to analyze under the microscope. And one of my group mates had an insect. So that's what we did. And then the next picture here is 3D printing. So we learned about different types of 3D printing. And then there was another lab on corrosion, I think. So there's been a lot of different range of lab experiments and report writing, which through which we've been learning our concepts, which is something I've really enjoyed, and it's taught me a lot. As Prof. Blackwood mentioned, the small cohort size, that's actually really great and really important. Over the 4 years, you kind of learn, you kind of get to know everyone in your batch. So it's quite nice. And because of this, I think it's very easy to approach profs and lecturers. It's always been, they've always been super friendly and approachable. And you can very easily go and ask them any questions or approach them after your lesson ends and stuff as well. And of course, there's MSE Club. So MSE Club, I was part of it for a short while in year 1. and it organizes activities for the cohort. I think there's a sports day and stuff. You can probably ask them more about it later. But yeah, so overall, I think it's a really friendly cohort, very cozy, small size. You get to know everyone and very enjoyable experience in MSc overall. Yeah. So I can talk a bit about my summer internship. So that was at the A-Star Institute of Materials Research and Engineering. So my internship was on two-dimensional spintronic materials. So 2D materials are like single atomic layer thick materials like graphene. And unfortunately, a part of my internship went into work from home because of COVID. But I also got to do some lab work, which was quite fun. So I got to work on these silicon wafers on which they fabricated devices, and I got to test them for like magnetic properties and electronic properties. And then on the right is me in the clean room attire. So I got to go inside the clean room and see how they actually exfoliate and make these two-dimensional materials as well. So that was quite cool. Yeah, and then the rest of the internship, when I worked from home, I did a lot of literature review. So I presented the data that I found and summarized to my supervisor. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I'm also part of the innovation and design second major. So because of this, if you remember from Prof. Blackwood's speech, he said that there are unrestricted electives. But when you do a second major, it usually takes up your unrestricted elective. So that's where this major fits in. So in years 2 and 3, I had a year-long design project. So in that, I worked with people from other disciplines, so biomedical engineering and mechanical engineering, and we made a wearable device prototype for the early detection of glaucoma. So this is, and there was a lot of materials testing involved in that as well. So this is some of the lab work that we did, and this is the final prototype that we presented after a year. So it was really cool because I learned a lot beyond material science as well. That's one of the reasons I chose to be in the second major, just to broaden my skill set. And through this hands-on work, I really got the opportunity to do that. My final year project also falls under this second major. So this time I chose to do something more material science related because my this project was a bit different. So my project now that I'm working on is on fiber reinforced 3D printed materials. So I've been working on this since last semester. Yeah, these are just a few pictures of what I've been doing. So printing materials, different samples, and then they all have different strengths. So I've been doing different strength tests to evaluate their properties. And then hopefully now I'll be trying to reduce the cost of this while keeping the strength high. So that's the aim of my project, and that's what I'm working on right now. Yeah, so I have to share, of course, about 2.5 years of my life in uni were definitely made by my experience in this residential college. So this is in Newtown. It is normally a 2-year program, but if you are quite active in your 2 years, you can apply for an additional semester or an additional year stay as well. And CAPT is focused on community engagement. So in my time there, I was part of this project called Kindle, where we did a mentoring program for foster children. And apart from that, staying on campus is really a vibrant, fun experience because you make so many friends, like beyond your academics, you make friends outside of your course. You spend late nights together, studying, eating, just hanging around. And then you can also take part in different committees, like the house committee. There were open mics, and then other events like formal dinner, bonding with people you stay in your suite with. So I think this was definitely a very big highlight of my university experience. Something else I've been involved with in year 1, and then I joined again in year 4, is the CCA called Engineering Good Student Chapter. So in year 1, I was a project team member, and we partnered with APSN to help with adults with moderate intellectual disabilities. And there was a Tech for Good showcase where we got to pitch our idea. So again, this used a lot of design thinking and project work skills. It was quite fun as a CCA. And now I've rejoined as the EXCO member. So now we're running outreach events. So we partnered with Engineering Good, which is the main nonprofit. And we did a laptop refurbishment program for NUS students. Yeah, we hope to do more of these kind of things too. And finally, I think the biggest highlight of my university experience so far has been my exchange program. So I did a semester overseas in the UK at the University of Sheffield. And I think this was one of the best moments, but one of the best periods of my life, I would say. So I made friends from NUS over there as well. So we had quite a nice group. But I also made a lot of new friends from a range of different cultures, and we're actually still in touch. So that was really great. And apart from that, there was opportunity for so much travel. So yeah, I included this picture here because it's a body-centered cubic crystal structure. And if you join MSE, you'll know what that is. But yeah, so it was really great. I got to meet a lot of new people, a lot of new places, and I also got to do modules like my own material science modules, but over there. So that's a fun experience too. So yeah, that sums up my experience. Just a few key takeaways from my 4 years here. I would say if you enjoy both physics and chemistry and want to learn more about how to apply them in the real world, or want to keep your options open for many other industries, I would definitely say join MSE, or at least consider, because it may really well be the best fit for you. I'd also say make the most of your time in university, because there's so much more to offer than just your academics and content. So sign up for new activities, committees, and of course, don't be afraid to or intimidated to pursue a second major or a minor to supplement your main course, because that can really help as well. So I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, I'm putting my contact details here, so you can always reach out to me if you want to talk more. Yeah.
Okay, this is a huge commitment, because you just showcase your contact information. So just get ready, right? So right. So thanks, Richard. Is there any questions for Richard? Like maybe you are interested in IDP and you wanted to do something along that line, or you found anything that's interesting, you want to stay in the hall or something, you could ask Richard now. So maybe while we wait for any questions come in, just for a couple of minutes, just a quick question for Richard. Right? I think everything sounds, yeah, please.
Sorry, I think a great presentation by Richard. Thank you for that. This is Arun actually. I have a question. So, when you actually taken this majors or maybe specialization, when was the semester that you took that specialization? End of second semester or something like that? When you took that? Can you give us some idea
So
about?
I actually applied to the course with the second major, but not everyone has to do that. So that is one option, but I think everyone does get the option to select the second major sometime in year 1, Sem 1. And I think the first module of this that I took was in the second semester of the first year, so year 1, semester 2. So that's when it really started. But I do know people who have also taken it starting from the second year. They just have to catch up that one module that you did before. So for me, I joined like along with MSE, I started right away, but you get the option to join this later on after your first semester as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks a lot for that.
Thanks.
Great. So any further questions? So just a quick one from me, right? So Richard, could you kind of tell us what is or are your challenges when it comes to doing a double degree? So not double major, sorry. It's a double major.
I would say one of them is like fitting your timetable correctly, because there's no unrestricted electives as such. Or now there's one unrestricted elective. So because of that, and then you have to manage your prereqs for the modules that you're going to take ahead. So you need to kind of make sure your timetable is well planned, and you know that, because there's not as much flexibility as if you were not doing the second major and you had those free electives, especially when it came to exchange and mapping the modules. I had to really make sure I could map the minimum number back, because if I didn't, I would have to probably overload in my last year and risk not graduating on time. So I think that scheduling is one of the challenges. But if you can do that, then it's not, after that, it's not too bad.
Okay, great, thanks. Is there any questions?
Yeah. I have a question with the slide where you showed the opportunities you have and the stuff you have done, right? It seems a lot. Is that like the normal count of achievements that people have done, or have you just done more?
No, I think it seems like a lot, but it's over 4 years. So yeah, it seems like a lot when I show it like this, but like it hasn't felt that much if you like if you've done it over 4 years. Like for example, the internship is part of your course that'll happen in the summer. Then 2 of those years I happened to be living in the RC and I did things there. And then exchange was 1 semester, the project. So a lot of these things just overlap with each other and it just happens naturally. It's not like I'm doing all these things. So it just seems like a lot when I'm showing you now in one go. But this has all been like gradually over 4 years. So I think people do more than this too. And it's up to you. Like you can set your own thing. None of these things are like fixed or compulsory. Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like there's any questions. So what's the difference between double degree and double major, right? So Richard, if you could answer, you can answer. If not, I can answer this.
Sure, I can answer what I know, but
Okay,
sure, you
cool.
can add on.
Yeah,
So
please.
from what I know, a double major is still within your 1 degree program. So when you have your single degree program, you have those 160 credits or units of modules that you have to take. So when you do a double major, it actually fits into that 160. You're just replacing your unrestricted electives with your double major modules. But I think when you do a double degree, you're getting like another whole degree. So you're getting a Bachelor of Engineering, for example, and like a BBA or whatever you do as your double degree. So it's no longer 160 units. You're adding on a whole other set of units to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So
That's right?
so basically, if you're doing a double major, you will have one primary degree, right? So like the primary degree for Richard will be material science and engineering. Then she will have a specialization, or rather in IDP basically. For a double degree, you will have 2 primary certificates. So meaning if like what Richard is saying, if you are doing one in engineering and the other one in business, then you will have 2 degrees. And another difference here, I will put it this way, right, is that the number of modules you need to take for a double major is still within that 160 credits, meaning you can finish this off in 4 years. But for a double degree, you may need about 4.5 or 5 years, depending on how fast you do your everything, right? So there'll be definitely more than 160 degrees. 160 credits. Cool.
There's another question.
So how do they value
Yeah.
the double major from employer's perspective?
Should I answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll say what I know from the student perspective right now.
Yeah.
But I would think that a double major basically supplements your skills. So MSE teaches you, I mean, the MSE curriculum or all the engineering curriculums are definitely quite broad now, like they have a lot of other skills. But when you do a double major in anything, you kind of go deeper into another area. So for me, I see it as just extending your skills or expertise to another area. It probably gives you more options. And the reason I chose IDP is because like I felt that the design thinking skills are things that can work well in any industry that you go to, or just working in teams, working in projects. Those kind of skills are quite essential soft skills that I think would be valuable. So yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah.
Of course, for us, when we recommend students to do double major, I mean the key concerns, or rather the key thing that we want them to kind of consider is this, right? Is that when it comes to the employment, right, or job market, is quite dynamic, right? So for a certain period of time, you may not be able to, maybe that the skill sets you gain from your primary degree may not be able to suit that job market within that period of time. And that's where your supplemented skills comes in. And that will really help you to bring you or bridge you over to another area where you could then be doing it as your career. So I think it's always good to kind of have more skills equipped, right, before you leave universities. That will really help in terms of adjusting to this dynamic job market, basically, right? Is there any, yeah, requirements? Yeah, Richard, please.
Oh, there's another question. What are the requirements for double major, and is there a list of all the majors we can pick from? I'm not so sure about requirements actually, if there is.
There is a requirement. So for double major, if you're considering, I mean, obviously the most popular one that probably most students are thinking of on is doing, let's say, a material science plus computer engineering. I think computer engineering is quite attractive right now. So for those very attractive second major, usually they will have a kind of interview for the candidates. So the student could still apply for computer engineering as for like the second major, but the thing is, it's really dependent on whether the host department, the computer engineering department, is willing to accept you, or if they have enough vacancy for it. So usually that is the case if you are going for those very attractive second major. But if you are looking at those very common second major, usually when you apply it, you usually get it. But of course, that depends on your grade, of course, if you can cope with that. So we do have a list of possible majors that are available online. I think that was in the presentation slide. So if you could, I think it's best that you join our Discord, or maybe send us an email so that we can show you the list of the majors, because we do not have it right now. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, if not, then thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Right, let's move on. So next we have Zhongrui, our second year student. So he will be sharing his experience with all of you. Right?
Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen and my voice, hopefully?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think Richard has done a really great job to discuss how I think both me and her felt our experience were like in material science and why we really went into the course. So I guess I will, from a year 2 perspective, I clearly have not done as much as her, but probably we'll be able to see what I'm just going to show what I've done in a more organic fashion. So don't worry too much about that. So who am I? Well, actually, you already probably know me if you're in the Discord server. I am the guy that's greeting everyone, basically. I'm Lojia, I'm one of the moderators on the Discord server. And basically, if you kind of need any help or you have some questions, you just go ahead and ask me. I'll be probably replying it to you very quickly. I basically graduated from TJ 2018, and I was again in your position thinking, what am I going to study? And I have 3 years to think about it, so I don't need to rush. But the thing is, you should think about that, because while you still have time, it is good to think about what you would like to do in the future and reflect on it. So I joined NUS MSE about August 2021, and I'm now a year 2 student, and I'm doing minor in econs. So actually, I declared my minor just this semester, so year 2 semester 2, so rather late. But I was able to probably catch up. I have just enough time for me to make it. And what about me? What hobbies do I have? Well, I have too many hobbies. That's the answer. I actually, one of my hobbies is actually coin collecting. So I recently got elected the Assistant Secretary of the Numismatic Society Asia. So it's like an organization for all the coin collectors in Asia. So what's my life in MSc? Not just about studying, as what Richard said. I mean, studying is one thing. That's everywhere. The other thing is I help out in a lot of events such as this one. I mean, I help out in hosting events like Save the Egg Challenge 2021 and even 2022. Who knows, maybe you guys will be able to join us in the past or something. I also went for the recent MSE Sports Day that Richard was talking about. I think there was one that MSE Club organized last week, actually, in MPSH. So we all had quite a good fun. And we're all very, very tight as a cohort because of our small size. And I think it's really indicative to show how bonded we are as a group. I look a bit tired, but I was playing badminton for 2 or 3 hours, so give me a break. Okay, so what else have I done? An undergraduate like me doing research. Yes, actually, I'm doing research and I used to work on aerogels and I'm now working on zinc ion batteries. So you might be thinking, how can an undergraduate like year 1, year 2 do research? I mean, I didn't think very much when I was in NS, and now you ask me to do research. Are you joking me? So actually, the answer is very possible. And just to show you what I have done so far, so I had my first aerogel I made from graphene, and I made my first zinc-ion battery almost a year ago, actually, now that I think about it. So you might be asking how did I do research? How did I get into the research field in this sense? Funny thing is that I actually never thought of doing research. When I was in year 1, I was thinking, yeah, I'll just have fun. I'll just do my modules and just go through university. And then my friend was like, oh, Jia, you want to do some aerogels together? Then I'm like, okay, sure, I guess. So he wrote me in, and in year 1, semester 2, I basically worked on a bit of aerogels, and with my friend over here, Trevor. And we had a bit of fun with some aerogels, but nothing too serious at the moment. It was all good exposure in terms of how we use lab equipment and the general gist of the lab. But I think more interesting is what happened after year 1 ended. So when year 1 ended, I was like, okay, I'm done. It's time to relax. And then Dr. Vincent was like, why not we write a review paper together on zinc-ion batteries? And I was like, me, me, a year 1 student doing summer writing a review paper? Then it's like, yeah, why not? Just do it, right? So I was like, okay, I guess since I have nothing else to do in summer, I might as well do something. And after about what looks like seven weeks of researching and reviewing, quite a bit of publications, I basically have more or less the finalized manuscript, and we're hoping to publish it soon in a journal. I think when I think back about it, I was wondering how I should have just grabbed on the opportunity. Honestly, when anybody asks you to do something, just go for it and just try it. Just grasp on every opportunity you see, and you never know where they will take you, because sometimes you never know what you wanted at the start, and who knows. And now I'm very happy to see that I've actually written this myself. I'm just shocked. And of course, I have spent many a time with Dr. Vincent on Zoom calls and him critiquing my work. But what happened next is that after I did my review paper, I worked on the undergraduate research opportunity program. So basically, after that, I applied for Europe under Dr. Vincent as well, and we worked on zinc-ion batteries. So as what Prof. Blackwood has talked about earlier, there is a way that you can basically, instead of doing a full semester-long internship, you can do a Europe, and you can do a vacation-long internship instead. So that's what I decided to do. And I decided to carry on with my Europe program in year 2, Sem 1. And I basically, in this project, I worked on basically pivoting on the previous work that I've done on zinc-ion batteries with my research available. And I worked on how we are able to grow some nanomaterials such that we're able to improve the capacity of zinc-ion batteries to make it competitive to lithium-ion counterparts that we use right now. So pretty scary for me, because me being a year 2 student playing with a scanning electron microscope, but still a very fun experience nonetheless. And I was just very grateful that Dr. Vincent just allowed me to play around with it for quite a while. So incidentally, I'm staying in RC4, so which is actually opposite College of Alice and Peter Dunn, which is where Richard came from, for 2 years. So I'm now staying literally opposite the building. I'm in Residential College 4. So I'm under the so-called University Town College program, whereby we replace a few of the common curriculum modules with our own substitutes. In RC4, we talk about systems thinking and system dynamics. So we talk about how we can dissect a system and look at it in terms of the interconnected loops and things like that. So of course, like what Richard said, there's a huge amount of college life. And formal dinner just ended, I think, last year. It was crazy. I think all of us had a lot of fun overall. But what else did I do in RC4 in this 2 years-ish? Well, I have also founded a new interest group here. So I have co-founded with a friend. I was talking to my friend one of these days, and I was like, why isn't there a writing club in this residential college? And he's like, yeah, why isn't there? Well, let's just make it up. And sure, I guess. And I guess we just met up with the professor. Professor's like, okay, sure, give us a thumbs up, give us $1,000. And say, okay, why not you host a competition? And we're like, $1,000 for the competition? Then we're like, okay, sure. God, I wish I was participating. I was a judge, but I wanted to participate. I really wanted the money too. But I really enjoyed hosting all of these events, all of these creating writing competitions, and providing a medium for people to have some fun in, to add and relax after a long day at school. What else did I do in RC4? Actually, I did research as well. What? Research? RC4. There's research in UTown. And the answer is yes for RC4. So in RC4, there's a special module called Project Assets or Projects and Systems. So basically, it's a self-initiated research project on system dynamics, which is an extension of systems thinking. So in year 2, Sem 1, while I was doing Europe's at the same time, I actually proceeded to model Singapore's energy security in terms of a systems thinking approach. So I was thinking of it through the economic framework, through the supply chain framework, or the environmental framework. So these 3 things underlie Singapore's energy security. And I think people decided to make a meme out of me. They decided to chalk on my door that I was a full-time doing it. So I guess that is indicative of how much effort I put in, but I'm still really happy that I made it through nonetheless. And this is why I really believe that even though I had worked really hard for this and I didn't think it was that much work, it was actually a lot more than I expected. I really still enjoyed the process, and I think ultimately it was still rewarding. And when I look back at it, it was worth it. So as I said before, whenever someone gives you an opportunity, why not just take it? Just try it. You never know if you wanted it. And as a result of this project, I am now going to fly to Chicago in around July, and I'll be presenting my work on the conference in system dynamics. So nonetheless, I think I would like to end my presentation here because I really want to see and talk about you guys. What do you guys want to do in NUS when you get here? Don't be shy. Ask me any questions. I really hope to entertain you and see how we can match you to MSE or even in NUS. Thank you very much.